If I ask you what it means, media-based education, would you know what that is? If I told you that's exactly what I'm trying to share with you here, would that ring a bell to you? I was watching a video from Pat Flynn from the Passive Income company, and he was talking about the fact that when we are sharing information to the people on the web through YouTube, or if we are doing, a blog, we are what we call media-based education. So instead of having a face-to-face, we have a media base. That's what I'm trying to explain to you today. Hopefully it will make sense as we are trying to learn new skills to make the world a better place. Welcome to my channel. My name is Alain Faber, and on this channel, my goal is to give you more skills and more knowledge so that you can make the world a better place. Today's topic, media-based education. As an educator, I've been in the education system for a long time. And we often think about face-to-face teaching. We sometimes talk about that we can give a phone call to help a friend of ours or a nephew or a niece. Sometimes we can hold the hand of someone that needs a little comfort to be able to go to the next step. Today's show is about education, but using the media. So I'm focusing on YouTube for quite a while, and I'm going to share with you some of the points I've learned through Pat Flynn and through experience as well. So let's start. I have about 6 or 7 ideas for you, and I'm going to call them superpower. The reason why we'll call them superpowers is the more you practice, the better you get. And as an educator who's been teaching for more than 20 years, I have some good understanding on what those superpowers would be. The first superpower is what we called public speaking. Public speaking is a superpower because it gives a chance to someone to organize their thoughts and be able to communicate their ideas to a group for understanding. So it's not just someone talking at the front. You have to consider that there's an audience listening to the discussion or to the talk. And at the end, we want the audience and the speaker to have an understanding of what's been discussed. And this is a superpower because there's a lot of people who talk and talk and talk and don't listen. And there's people who stop listening to the person who speaks. So as you're trying to get better at media-based education, public speaking is important. I was talking to my daughter. If you consider that I've been teaching for 20 years and there's about 200 days in a school year, and I've been teaching for 3 classes a day, I've done a minimum of 12,000 presentations just in the school system. And that's why it's easy for me to speak in front of teenagers. I have some friends who teach in the elementary level and they refuse to teach in front of teenagers. And it's interesting because it's a perspective. The same way I joined Toastmasters to become a better public speaker, but this in front of adults. So we all have our strengths, we all have our superpower about public speaking, and we can always improve on our skills. My second point is what we call community building. When I'm in a classroom, the idea is not to talk to a group, but is to make everybody in the group be part of a community. I'm a part of their community as they are also trying to understand with the credits we're trying to work with to understand. It's a superpower because if a teacher doesn't have the cooperation of the students, there's no community building that happens. If the teachers are not willing to understand where the teenagers are coming from, there's no community building that happens. And that's why it's called a superpower. We could take, for example, a community leader where they gather people from the community to have a better community, a nicer looking community, take care of politics, being a trustee for the school system, or sometimes in the workplace, there is that person that takes care of birthdays and it's 5 to 7 to meet other people outside of the work. It's a skill to be a leader and build a community. but it's also important in media-based education, because if you don't build a community, how can you make sure that everybody involved feel rewarded, feel that they have added value to their lives, and then learn from it? And that's why community building is a superpower. My third point is leadership, and I touched about that on the second point. Leadership is important when we want to have a media-based education, because we need to have someone who can share with us what are the basic guidelines of what needs to be done. The government brings us the curriculum, so we know what the teachers know what to do. We may have, for example, an online class where there's 5 modules to do with a few sections, and many of you, as I, have done online training for work. Same thing with students nowadays. They are learning more and more online, but to be able to make sure that they learn, to make sure that as a community, we make sure that everybody can feel understood where they're at, so we can fill in the gaps, so that by the end of a semester, by the end of a project, everybody involved have added value in their lives. And that's why it's a superpower to be a leader when we talked about media-based education. I see myself as a leader. Do I have a lot of things to learn? I learn every day as I'm starting this journey about leadership online related to education. That's why my one word is learn, and that's why I'm sharing that with you. My fourth superpower is what we called a content creator. In order to have a media-based education, you need to create content for people to have access to and from which they can see value. If someone doesn't see a value of what's online, they will not learn from it. For the same reason, if you go on Instagram, you can just flip up the different pictures that you see or the stories. People won't spend time if they're not interested. So first, you need to attract their attention so that you can build a community. And as a leader, you want to share with them the content for the course. Now, in this face-to-face in science, we have labs we can do with students. When we are in a company and we have projects, we can have think tanks where we can learn from each other. Online, we need to build content, either video content, audio content, and that's often called podcasts. It could be written contents if you have a blog or a website. All of that content is important if you want to have a media-based education. And that's a superpower, because not everybody is creating content. On this YouTube channel, I've been succeeding in creating 1 video a day. Today is my 89th or the 90th video in 89 or 90 days, excuse me. So this is my contribution, trying to get better at it so I can mainstream what I do, so I can be more proficient, especially because the school year is starting and there'll be more and more content I need to add. The 5th superpower is what we call content strategist. A content strategist is a person who will look at the curriculum that needs to be covered, all the units that needs to be done if you take an online course, or the different sections if you have a website for your company. The person will make sure that whoever goes and have a look at your content can actually learn from it and it's understandable for them. Because there's a difference between creating content and putting it out there. But you need to make sure that the audience understand what you're trying to communicate and they can learn from it. Otherwise, the content is totally useless. And that's why a strategist is important. In my class, my strategy is to make sure that to be able to get a credit, they need to do the hands-on labs. They have vocabulary to learn. They have discussions to participate into. So what happens is there are several strategies for them to learn so they can understand the concept. But more than that, I want them to know if they like science. And if they do like science, What aspect of science do they love? Do they prefer the more theoretical aspect of science, in which case they can go into math or chemistry later on? Or they're more interested in labs and hands-on, in which case they may want to go into engineering? Or are they the type of people who just love to gather data because the data is exciting for them to try to get the best data as possible, in which case becoming a technician is great if they go to college. My next part is for my sixth superpower is writing and editing. Writing is quite amazing because not only you can create videos and audio, but by writing words either into blogs or website, you have a chance to share what you know to your public. And that's part of the media-based education, the written portion of what you have to share. Because keep in mind that some people love to listen to new information. Other people need the video because they need to see the person talk. They need to see the expression, the facial expression as they discuss. But other people don't like that. They prefer to read and do it at their own pace. And that is all the better. And that again, to be able to make it a superpower, it's not just writing, but it's editing the work and your words to make sure that the audience reading your work understand and learn from it. And these are all amazing superpowers. So let's see what are the six superpowers that I've looked into. So we have the public speaking. We also have community building. We have leadership, because the media-based education is about leadership. Content creator and being a content strategist, because at the end of the day, you want people to learn from what you have to offer, and you need to be able to write and edit in a way that your audience is there for you. So keep in mind that it's not the creator that is the most important person. It is the audience from which they will learn from you. And you have to keep that in mind. So the call to action for you today is to go learn something before the end of today. So that means that you will go to see a TED Talk on YouTube. You will turn on the radio. They sometimes have afternoon information about different topics, art, science, or music, or others. You could decide to read a book, either fiction or nonfiction, it doesn't matter. Or you could decide to read some blogs. The idea is I want you to learn something new through reading, through listening, or watching something. I believe in you, and on this, I will put here on the side the link to my playlist that is called My Best Life Journey, from which I'm sharing to you different ideas and sharing with you skills that you can learn from and that you can make the world a better place. I'll see you in the next video.